Hello, today's video is going to be about factoring trinomials where a is greater than 1. First, we're going to warm up with some more basic trinomials just to refresh our memories on factoring. So when we have a trinomial where a equals 1, meaning that the coefficient of x squared is just 1, or there is no coefficient, whichever way you want to look at it, we can factor this straight into two binomials, and they will both start with x, because the only way to get x squared is to multiply x times x. All right, then we want two numbers that multiply to get a positive 45. If they multiply to get a positive, then they have to be the same. So we either need two negative signs or two positive signs. Since they have to add to get 14 as well, and that's a positive 14, then they do have to be positive signs. So we want two terms of 45, or two factors of 45 that have a sum of 14. That's going to be positive 9 and positive 5. All right, number 2. Once again, a trinomial where a equals 1. But this time we multiply to get a negative. That means we have to have different signs, one positive, one negative. And when we have different signs, that means we want the difference to be 3 instead of the sum. So we want two factors of 28 with a difference of 3. That's going to be 7 and 4. But specifically, we need them to have a difference of negative, or a sum of negative 3. So the 7 has to be negative and the 4 has to be positive. On number 3, we have to take a greatest common factor out first. So we're going to take a 2. And that leaves us with a squared plus a minus 12. Then we factor what's left inside. And now a equals 1, so we can just put our variables in. We multiply to get a negative again, so we need one positive and one negative. And then this time we add to get a positive 1. So two factors that have a difference of 1 that multiply to get 12 are going to be 4 and 3. And to get a positive 1, when we add them together, we need a positive 4 and a negative 3. All right, finally, number 4, we're going to take out a greatest common factor of 4, and that'll leave us with p squared minus 6p plus 5. And now we have a trinomial where a equals 1. So we do this just like the others. P, these multiply to get a positive, so our signs have to be the same, either two positives or two negatives. And since they add to get a negative, it's got to be two negatives. So things you can multiply to get 5 and add to get 6 are 5 and 1. And that's our final answer. All right, so let's take this a little step further. So you're going to notice on your worksheet that you need to enter these in, or write these into your notes. And I'm going to walk you through this step by step and kind of explain as we go through an example. So this says that when a cannot be factored out by a greatest common factor, we can possibly still factor the trinomial. The steps below show a method called slip and slide to factor the trinomials. So we are going to slip a to the end of the trinomial and multiply by c. So what's that look like? We want to multiply this by this. So for step 1, this goes away because we're slipping it down here, okay? And then you'll have x squared plus 5x, and then 2 times 3 is 6. So now we have plus 6. So that's step 1. Step 2 is to factor this new basic trinomial. So these are the same things we've been doing. X plus 2, x plus 3. Then step 3 is to divide both of your factors by the value that you slipped over in step 1. So that is this positive 2. We're going to divide both of these by 2. Then step 4 is reduce the fractions and slide any denominators up next to the variable. Distribute to check. Okay, so what that means is that for step 4, 2 divided by 2 is 1, and then 3 divided by 2 is just 3 halves. If there is still a fraction, you're going to move that denominator up next to the x in that term. So our final answer here is going to be x plus 1 times 2x plus 3. So let's look at another example. Step 1, we are going to slip this over here. means that it won't be by the m squared anymore. So we have m squared minus 17m. 5 times 6 is positive 30. Step 2 is to factor that. So we have m. We want to multiply to get a positive and add to get a negative, so they have to both be negative. And we're going to use 15 and 2. Then step 3 is to divide both of these by a, which was 5. So step 4 is to simplify that. So we get m minus 3 times m minus 2/5. And then the denominator slides over. So our final answer is m minus 3 times 5m minus 2. Example number 3. Step 1. We are going to slip this over here. So we've got y squared minus 5y minus 24. Step 2 is to factor that. y, we want to multiply to get a negative, so we have to have one positive, one negative. We are going to use negative 8 and positive 3 to get 24 and 5. Step 3 is to divide by a, the thing that we moved in the first place. And step 4 is to simplify that. So we get y plus 1/2 times y minus 4/3. And we simplify those fractions. Then we move our denominators up to be coefficients. So we now have 2y plus 1 times 3y minus 4. Example number 4. Step 1, slip this over here. So we've got c squared plus 11c minus 60. Step 2 is to factor that. So we'll get c plus and c minus, and then we're going to use 15 and 4. Step 3 is to divide both of these by a, which was 12. And step 4 is to simplify. So c plus 5/4 and c minus 1/3. So this comes up to be a coefficient. Denominator comes up to be a coefficient. And we are going to get 4c plus 5 times 3c minus 1. All right, and then there's one more example I want to do with you, just because we didn't do any with the greatest common factor. So if you skip down to number 8 on your worksheet, we're going to do it together. You need to check to make sure there are no greatest common factors when you do this. And in this one there is. We can take a 2 out of all 3 terms. So we're going to take a 2 out, and we have 6x squared plus x minus 1. Okay, so we don't care about this anymore. We're not factoring that. We did that. We're done with that step. So now we're only factoring what's left inside of here. And we've done problems like this before, so it shouldn't be too far out of your reach. So the 2, I'm going to keep bringing it down, but we're going to slip the 6 over to here. So we now have x squared plus x minus 6. Then we want to factor that, so we're going to get x plus 3 times x minus 2. Then we divide both of these by a. So that was 6, and make sure you use this a that you moved over, not the original a. So now we've got 2x plus 1/2, x minus 1/3, and then we move our denominators up, and we're going to get 2x plus 1 times 3x minus 1. And that's our final answer. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.